Hello and welcome to my 5,000 subscriber special. I am very amazed that you are able to get me here so quickly. It feels like I just hit 4,000. I've been bouncing back and forth with what to do for 5,000 subscribers for a while, and I just had an amazing idea. I'm actually sitting down and recording this on the spot because the idea is really exciting. Through all the reviews I do, stuff like ranking the Demons list and just general opinion videos, the most controversial creator always tends to be Krmal. People are really divided on whether or not his levels are good, whether or not they're bad, or whether or not, just in general, they should be rated. And I thought it'd be fun, knowing how controversial Krmal is, for a 5,000 subscriber special, to turn the heat up a little bit, throw myself into the controversy pit, and review every rated Krmal level. And that's what we're going to be doing. The other thing is I've decided to present this video as a tier list, and so I have all the levels here in order, and we're going to rank them on a tier list as I talk about them. One final thing is I have decided to exclude Phobos from the list of levels. The main reason I'm doing this is because Phobos isn't actually Krmal's level. Krmal just nerfed and verified it because it was hack verified, so it might be rated and on Krmal's account, but it isn't actually Krmal's level. I'm also going to be excluding Valor and Steel Gear, as those levels are collabs, and collabs with a lot of people, and so acting like they're just Krmal's levels is a disservice to the rest of the people involved in the collab. And yeah, so I'm excluding Phobos, Valor, and Steel Gear. All of the other levels are fair game. First up, we have Alive by Krmal. At first, this seemed like it was going to be a pretty typical and pretty decent 1.96 star, but Krmal had to ruin it by putting a straight fly at the end. Now, Krmal has done stuff like this before. Later on in the video, we're going to be talking about Don't Rate This Level, where Krmal pulled something very similar, except this is worse because this level is not a joke level. It's a serious level, and so I have to talk about why doing this is a bad idea. Even though I'm sure most of my audience gets it, I want to elaborate on it. So putting a significant difficulty spike as the ending of your level is a bad idea for two reasons, and they're intertwined. If you're a high-end player that's able to consistently do straight fly and not have a problem with it, the level's going to be boring because the hardest part is a single straight fly at the end and the rest of the level is like easy free. However, if you're around the skill level of everything before the straight fly, then the straight fly is going to be too hard and it's going to be frustrating because you're going to die over and over to the ending. So no matter what player you are, this level's not going to be enjoyable. It sucks too because the rest of the level is actually pretty fun for a 6 star, and then this. I can forgive it to an extent because it's not that hard of a straight fly, but in general this is just a really dumb move and I dislike this a lot. In terms of where I'm going to put this on the tier list, I think I'm going to put it in D. It would be higher if it wasn't for the straight fly at the end because this is a genuinely enjoyable 1.9 level. Also, one thing I forgot to mention is I'm pretty sure the level was updated to have the straight fly because it's like the whole level's 1.9 and then suddenly you have 2.0 moving object rainbow blocks forming a straight fly. So the level might not have even always been this way, but yeah, the level, it's going in D. It would be higher if the straight fly wasn't there. Next up we have Invisible Deadlocked, which I don't really need to say much to review it. It's a very simple concept. It's just deadlocked, but all the objects are invisible. It's basically like playing GD blindfolded. Now, obviously, this is a pretty shitty rated level. Like, this is probably bottom of the barrel when it comes to rated levels, but that's more RobTop's fault for rating the level. If this wasn't rated, no one would care about it, and honestly, it's a really interesting challenge, and the fact that Krmal went through the trouble of verifying this in the first place is kind of impressive. Time and time and again, we see a lot of people attempting this and unironically enjoying the challenge, and at the end of the day, when it comes to a level, if people are enjoying it, that's all that matters, and you don't always need to put a ton of effort into something for it to be enjoyable. Now, that being said, it's still extremely low effort and extremely unoriginal, but it's still an interesting idea nonetheless. All of that being said, I'm feeling like Invisible Deadlocked is probably C tier. It's very, very average for the standards of stuff Krmal can make because, well, as a rated level, it is bottom of the barrel. As just a fun challenge for people to attempt to beat, it's kind of a neat idea, and so I feel comfortable putting it in C. Next we have Rearmed, and this is a level I'm very mixed on, mainly because, on one hand, I don't like the gameplay, but on the other hand, I think that's just because I'm really bad at the gameplay. I feel like if you're good at this kind of gameplay, it's actually kind of fun. See, I'm getting ahead of myself. This level is very, very unconventional in its gameplay, and by that standard, also very creative. Unfortunately, it's got a duel that's basically like a UFO and a ball, and it's about as complicated as the duel in Verity by Sir Punch. It is a very awkward duel, and it's very hard to pull off. However, I've heard a lot of people who got consistent at the section say that it's actually a lot of fun, so I have no idea how to feel about this duel at all. What I do know is that as a visual experience, it is a really, really, really cool level, and on top of that, aside of this duel, I can say that I find the majority of the level fun, so I don't see many issues with Rearmed. I just think that the gameplay is a bit weird. I do really like this level, though. In terms of where it's going to go on the tier list, I'm thinking a pretty average A tier. I think the level fits pretty comfortably in A tier, and that is where I'm going to put it. Next up we have Lit Fuse, and I think we have already found perfection. I don't think the tier list is going to peak anywhere beyond this. Yeah, Lit Fuse, I don't know if this is something I've talked about before. Lit Fuse is one of my favorite levels, like, ever. Yeah, I love this level a lot. The balancing in this level and the progression is a bit strange, and because of that I feel like a lot of people are turned off of this level, and usually the criticism you hear is that the beginning of the level is really boring, and I guess, but the way this level's structured and the way the gameplay works makes for a very enjoyable experience. The first cube is raw difficulty with some of the most brain-numbingly difficult timings I've ever tried to pull off, but they're really fun when you pull them off. It's followed by a ship section that not only syncs with the music really well, but is a genuinely good endurance test. And then after that, you get a duel, which unfortunately is not that great. I can forgive it because the reason it's bad is not Krmal's fault. See, if you don't know, in a duel, for some reason the ship is just heavier in duels, and so this is a lot harder to control than it looks. But what's really cool about this level and why I like it so much is that everything up until that point is basically one massive endurance test, to where when you're immediately thrown into the drop at like 50-something%, you're already tired by the time you get to the drop, so it's just kind of like holding yourself together until you make it to the end. And the way this level makes you feel is something that I find very euphoric, and I will always love this level for it. As a visual experience, it's even better because the theming and the progression of the level just works so well. I can praise this level endlessly. I love Lit Fuse so much. I think with how much I just gushed about this level, it's probably not shocking that it's going in S. I think this is one of the better 2.0 levels just overall. This level is genuinely good and holds up very well. On the other end of things, we have Conical Depression, which I personally think is Krmal's worst work. This level started off as a challenge level, and Krmal basically extended it into a full-length level, and its gameplay isn't good, it's not decorated, and it's just abhorrent in every way, shape, or form. I don't like this level, I can't justify its existence, it's just bad. I don't know what else to say. I do not like Conical Depression at all. Yeah, no, I don't think it should be very shocking that Conical Depression is going in F. Next up we have Heartbeat, and I do like this level, but unfortunately it is very flawed. First and foremost, the theming of this level is great, and something I need to pause and talk about for a second. I don't necessarily agree with Krmal's take that if a level has an overused song, it's not as good. However, I do agree that having a unique song can help a level a lot, and Krmal does a really good job at finding songs that fit levels very well, or more accurately, making levels fit the song well, and this is probably the best level I could use as an example for that. This level is tense, unnerving, claustrophobic, and it pulls off everything it's trying to do flawlessly. Like, it's not common that a level can make me feel uncomfortable in GD, but this one genuinely does. And it's not even because I find the song creepy, or I think the level looks creepy, because honestly, it's not even really like an eerie or a creepy thing. It's more so just that this level feels uncanny in a way that's really hard to describe, but in a really good way. You know how a lot of GD levels will constantly spam the word die everywhere and try to give the player the impression that the level itself wants them dead, and how levels that do this always kind of miss the mark? Well, this level does that without actually doing that and succeeds. Like, it doesn't have any text in the level doing that. However, you play this level and you very much get that feeling that this level does not want you alive. As good as the tone and atmosphere of this level might be, the problem comes in with some of the gameplay. A lot of it is really creative and really cool, and I like a lot of it, but then there are some parts that kind of just miss the mark. Like, for example, in the wave spam, there's a part where you become a dual wave, but there's nothing there to align you, so it's really possible to off-center in the wave, which is really not ideal and not great. But even worse are these robot clicks to the end, which are unnecessarily strict and almost impossible to read. Unfortunately for me, those gameplay aspects drag the level down a lot, however, I still do like Heartbeat quite a bit. I think taking everything into account, Heartbeat sits comfortably in the B tier. Next up we have Don't Raid This Level, and for those of you who have seen the video, I rank this as one of the worst rated levels. And so it might shock you to know that I actually really like this level. Now, I know that might seem like a huge contradiction to things I've said in the past, but I promise you it makes a lot of sense, so I'll explain. Don't Raid This Level is a terrible rated level, and I fully put the blame on this level being bad on the fact it was rated. RobTop should not have rated this level. However, if you take a step back and you ignore that and you look at it as what it is, a parody of bad 2.0 levels, it's actually pretty funny. The humor in this level is just on point, and there's a lot of really funny stuff in this level, in both gameplay and decoration regards. It's from small things to this ship transition being intentionally bad because it flips your gravity without telling you, all the way to complex and very well hidden jokes like the low detail mode key not actually enabling LDM and instead opening up a coin route. Here's a random fun fact. The wave used to be called the Dart. And that's why I find it really funny that when the song subtitles say, "Out of the dart, you become the wave." I think that that's really, really funny. In general, this level is just a really good parody of bad 2.0 levels because, while this level might over-exaggerate it a bit, a lot of what this level does, there are 2.0 levels that are rated that do this unironically. I will say, the level is held back by those final wave clicks, because even if it wasn't rated, if you just simply removed these clicks, the level would be way more accessible, and a bunch of people could play this and unironically, like, beat it and find it funny. These wave clicks are very unfair and were a horrible idea from Krmal. Well, this might be one of the worst rated levels we've ever gotten. If we take it out of that context and we just look at it as what it is, a parody of 2.0 levels, it's probably one of the better parody levels we've gotten in this game, and because of that, I'm gonna put it in A, below Rearmed. Next up we have Falling Up, and this is a level that I am very, very mixed on. On one hand, this level's gameplay is horrible, especially considering the duel at the end. But on the other hand, there are some parts of the gameplay in this that are genuinely really fun. Ironically, it feels like the further you get in the level, the worse the gameplay gets. But at the very least, I can say there are some things, especially the beginning, that are genuinely fun. It just kind of depends on what section you're talking about. Now, that being said, I still love this level because it might be one of Krmal's best song usages in general. Just, it's really well done. I also gotta praise the deco. The fact that this was made in 2.0, yet it stands on its own today, is genuinely amazing. And while some people will take this level apart and criticize it for different things, like there are people who are biased and don't like rainbow blocks, for example, yeah, I mean, there are things that people can say they don't like about this level, but in general, I think you have to agree that this level has aged pretty well. And in my personal opinion, I think the whole thing looks really good even by today's standards. The ending is one of the better usage of rainbow blocks I've ever seen because, like, the section takes place in the sky. Of course you're gonna see rainbows. What are you talking about? Helping the level is that I think Time Leaper might be one of the best GD songs we've gotten, not just in regards to quality, but in regards to recognition. Like, go up to any GD player and ask them, not counting the Rob Top levels, what is the first song they think of when they think GD? If it's not something along the lines of At the Speed of Light, it's probably this song, especially if they were a very common player in 2.0. I think Falling Up was executed almost perfectly, and I want to put it high, but, like, to give you an idea of how bad the ending duel is, I have met so many people who say, I want to go for Falling Up. I really like the level. I've always wanted to beat it. And consistently, every single time, every single player I've ever seen try to pick up Falling Up drops the level. Especially if they picked it up as a hardest. And I think that goes to show the level's quality. That being said, it's still really well designed, especially for a 2.0 level, so I'm gonna put it in B above Heartbeat. Next up we have High, and this is a level that I'm gonna have a very hard time reviewing. I think that this level's atmosphere is really good, I think it uses the song really well, and I really, really like this level's execution just all around. I think it's a solid level. I just don't like the gameplay at all. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I think this level is a bit unbalanced and also just a tad bit too unfair. In particular, there's this mini-cube section with limited vision, which I've heard gets consistent, but I've also heard that it takes a really long time to get consistent. I just see this section as nothing but a gauntlet of blind jumps, but yeah. But more importantly, what drags this level down so much for me are these dual ball clicks. These might be some of the worst clicks I've ever touched in an Insane Demon. These are horrible. There's also the end ship with its constant gravity changes, which has pretty much killed any chance of me ever going for this level, because no, I'm not touching this with a 50-foot pole. But aside of those things, I do really like the way this level handles itself. I just personally wouldn't play it. I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea where to put High on the tier list, because on one hand I like a lot of things about this level, especially if you look at it as a visual experience, but on the other hand, there's some gameplay elements in this that I just can't stand. And I don't know, I think I'm gonna put this in C above Invisible Deadlocked. That feels right to me. Next up we have Elite Z Rebirth, and I despise this level. I could go on and on about this level. It's just not good. But I'm just going to point out the main important things, and those things are, this level is in 2-player mode, and it's only in 2-player mode to make one singular straight fly harder, and it also has block mazes where you can't see the gameplay or the player. No, I don't know why. This level is just bad in every regard, and I don't like it. Unsurprisingly, I'm putting this level in F, and I'm gonna actually put it below Conical Depression. I do not like this level. Next up we have Manix, and this level is downright terrible. All Krmal did is take the other level called Manix, the one that's actually by Manix. He took that level and made all the gameplay invisible. That's it. It's basically just Invisible Deadlocked if it was Manix instead of Deadlocked, and it's terrible. Not only that, though, but the level's actually buffed, so it doesn't even do a good job at being an invisible level, because it's harder, like in raw difficulty. There is actually one good thing about the gameplay being invisible, and it's the one thing that's going to keep this level from being F, and that's, this level existing actually does this level a huge favor, because it allows you to see way more of the art, especially the background deco. I think with all that being said, I'm going to put the level in E. It would go in F if it wasn't for the fact that it actually benefits the level to have the gameplay invisible in regards to a visual experience. Next up we have Black Blizzard. Black Blizzard is a lot more of what you'd expect from Krmal in the sense of being really good visual experiences, but the gameplay being divided in whether or not it's good. I personally think the gameplay is really, really cool. However, the level is very, very pre-drop heavy, very difficult, and because of that, a lot of people don't like this level. And I don't necessarily think either opinion is wrong. However, I'm personally going to step in and say that the gameplay in this level feels really creative, and even if you don't enjoy it, you have to at least acknowledge that a lot of effort was put into this gameplay. I also think that the deco in this level is genuinely amazing, and overall there's just a lot to love about Black Blizzard. I don't know, I like the level. All that being said, I think I'm going to put Black Blizzard in A above Rearmed. Next up we have Hungry Humphrey, or as I like to call it, Accidental Blackface. Hungry Humphrey is a level that I really like, and while obviously this is a massive shitpost, it's a shitpost with a lot of effort put into it, and I have to praise it for that. On top of the fact that the face in the level genuinely looked good, especially for its time, and while nowadays it just kind of feels uncanny and weird, back then this was seen as extremely impressive. My only complaint with this level is that, like usual, the gameplay isn't that great. It's kind of becoming a commonality through these level reviews, where a lot of the levels are held back by their gameplay and would be way better as a visual experience, and that's kind of what I think Krmal excels at, is making good visual experiences. In this specific case, I don't like a lot of the gameplay in this level. I think it starts off fine, but in particular, the transition into this UFO part and trying to read this UFO part in general is pretty bad, and there's just a lot of questionable stuff with the gameplay. However, luckily the level is very easy and doesn't have a massive difficulty spike at the end, so as long as you're of the right skill level, all of these things genuinely won't affect you. I think Hungry Humphrey is a really, really good high-effort shitpost, and for that standard, I'm gonna put it in B, below Heartbeat. Next up we have EXO, and EXO is interesting and also very difficult to review. See, this level is entirely in 1.0 deco, and for that it doesn't even use a lot of 1.0 objects. I think a lot of people are way too harsh on this level in regards to decoration, because a lot of people will call it a layout, and no, it's not. It's fully decorated, and for being fully decorated using only 1.0 objects, it looks really, really good. In general, some of the animated backgrounds, especially in the latter half, are really, really good, and for such an arbitrary restriction, Krmal managed to do a lot of interesting with it. However, you know my big hot take that I always bring up. If you set an arbitrary restriction for yourself, and that restriction ends up affecting the level's quality, it is your fault for applying that restriction to the level. I'm not even necessarily saying the level shouldn't be an effect layout and it shouldn't use this restriction, but there's a lot more you can do with this, because if you look at a level like Dear Nostalgists, they managed to do a lot more with a very simple concept. If Krmal wanted to, he could have made it so as the level evolved, it got more complicated in regards to structuring and designs and all of that stuff. In particular, I think this level kind of underutilizes the ground spike, which could have been used to make the level look a lot better. For what this level lacks in decoration, however, it more than makes up for it with gameplay, and especially sync. I'll go on a limb and say that this is some of the best usage of music we've had in this game so far. To get the obvious stuff out of the way that everyone knows first, there's really interesting stuff like the ship syncing with the song's vibrato, so as the pitch of the singer fluctuates, so does the position of the ship, which really makes me think of the ship section in Lit Fuse, but evolved tenfold. What makes me really appreciate this level, however, are the more subtle things that you wouldn't notice unless you repeatedly viewed the level. For example, when I was showcasing this level for the purpose of this review, I actually noticed that at the beginning of the level, blocks at random will pulse white, and I didn't know why at first, and then I realized they were syncing perfectly to the guitar. This is an interesting detail because I was using the Nong, which is the copyrighted version, which unfortunately means I can't play it for you in this video, but it's interesting that the level syncs perfectly with both the Nong and the Newgrounds version, and if you use the Nong, you notice interesting stuff like that. I do really, really like a lot of things about this level. However, I have to admit that the choice of decoration does hold the level back at all. I, again, don't think it needs to be a fully fledged, like, 2.1 glowy, modern decorated level, because I think that would kind of defeat the purpose. However, it would have been nice if they got a little bit more creative with the 1.0 designs, because, I mean, there are parts in Dear Nostalgists that look better than EXO, and that's kind of sad because the level is a full update older. Taking everything into account, even acknowledging the fact that the level's arbitrary restriction does hinder the level's quality, I still think the level is deserving of S tier. However, I'm gonna put it below Lit Fuse because I feel like it pulls off what EXO tries to do, just a little bit better. And finally, we have Low Death. Low Death is weird because a lot of people say its gameplay is really, really fun. Personally, I don't care. This level could have the most amazing gameplay in the world, but considering how it handled itself, I don't like this level. I might be, well, not might be, I am definitely extremely biased here, and I might hate this level for very personal reasons, but I see this level as a huge disservice to High Life in every way, shape, or form. High Life is an amazing level from when it came out, and all Low Death is a buffed version of the level that just sits there and makes fun of it. This level just gets under my skin in a way that I can't describe. I don't know why, it just annoys the hell out of me. Look, even if you like the gameplay in Low Death, you have to admit the gameplay in High Life is just objectively better and more accessible to the wider community. Yeah, no, I am not a fan of Low Death. I am gonna put it at the bottom of F tier. I despise this level and everything it stands for. And with that, we have finished the tier list. I will be showing the final product on screen, but yeah, I, needless to say, have some very, very divisive takes about Krmal's levels. But I feel like it's interesting to just make a video getting all of my opinions on the subject out in the open, just because, I mean, people are going to hear my opinions on these levels anyway, so I might as well just sort of put them all out at once. And I want you guys to remember that I made this video knowing these opinions are controversial, and if you think about what I'm saying that I'm aware people are going to disagree with me. And that's perfectly fine. Like, look at some of the levels in this video I was absolutely mean to, like Conical Depression or Low Death. If you enjoy Low Death, that's perfectly fine. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have anything against your opinion and you liking the level. They are just opinions at the end of the day. You know, I see stuff like Technical putting Low Death in, like, S tier on his Extreme Demons tier list, and I don't judge that, because it's clearly just because he enjoyed the level, and at the end of the day, that's what matters. But yeah, I just want to thank you all again for getting me to 5,000 subscribers. I really appreciate it. It means the world. Like, I never thought I'd be able to hit 100 subscribers, let alone 5,000. Like, this is genuinely surreal. And yeah, I am currently working on part 2 of the GD Iceberg. It should be finished recording soon. However, I'm a little bit worried about the Iceberg as a series, just because there's a huge chance that 2.2 is going to be coming out, like, within the next 2 weeks. I mean, obviously that's all speculation, and I could be wrong, but, like, there is a genuinely solid chance that the update will come out before I finish part 2 of the Iceberg, which would make the Iceberg feel just slightly more outdated. That all being said, though, there is more content in the works. Sorry things have slowed down a little bit. I've just been kind of busy with my personal life, but I promise you content is not going to stop, and I plan to keep going as long as I possibly can, because I really enjoy making these videos, and I'm really happy that you guys are able to enjoy watching them. That all being said, thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video.